Unity tutorial. This is SciGuy1121 and let's go ahead and get started. So, in the last tutorial, I talked to you guys about packages and assets and all that. Later on, I'll talk to you guys about how to create your own packages and assets. I know there are some people, there's something I'll show you in a later video that's called the Unity Store, which is basically where you can buy more packages and assets. And there are people that make their living creating packages and assets and selling it on the Unity Store. But I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you guys about first-person character controllers. So, as you can see, remember scroll wheel in this window is to zoom in and out. We have our little plane, and if I move around it, we have a little plane here, and it's not super massive. Let me drag around. So what I'm going to do is, this will be just our floor to walk around. I'm just going to set it to 10 by 10 by 10. Oop, not 110. Okay, since it is a plane, obviously the Y dimension is not going to work, because the plane is a 2D object. And yeah, actually I should probably just go ahead and delete the plane. Sometimes if you have a plane and you are doing calculations with collisions, since it is a 2D object, it can have a few glitches. So what I'm going to do is go up to the game object, create other, and I'll do cube, and you can see it's really, really small. I'm just going to set it 10 by 10. Okay, so there we have a simple cube. This will be our floor, and I'm just going to add in our character. So if you haven't watched my last tutorial, and you know how to import an asset, good for you. If you don't know, just go up to Assets, Import Package, and then I'm going to be using the Character Controller package. So, go down to, so once it's imported, it's under Standard Assets, Character Controllers, and you'll see it's giving us a large amount of stuff. What you want to do, these are called prefabs. I will not cover those in this tutorial, but you want to drag the first-person controller prefab onto your scene. And you can see, if I just run it real quick, that we have a little plane on which we can walk around. I'm using the WASD keys to walk around. I'm just going to stop it. Okay, now let's mess around with a few settings. So, actually, let me recap what I did. Basically, just drag in first-person controller and put it in your scene. What it is it is basically just a camera, and this thing is just so that it can detect collisions. So if you have a slope, it knows to go up the slope as opposed to walking through, etc., etc. So, let me show you a couple of the parameters. So, I'm going to cover this view in a later tutorial, maybe the next tutorial, as a matter of fact. But basically what you have is you have the inspector view, and you have each of the scripts and components of our first-person controller prefab. So, we have transform, which every object that appears in the game has, which is basically position, rotation, and scale. XYZ for all of them. So, position, how much it's rotated, and how large it is. Now we have character controller. So, I haven't messed around with this script a lot. I generally don't like to mess around with it because I think this character controller is pretty good. You can just go ahead and mess around with this to your liking, however much you want. Actually, I'm just going to close them once I've covered them. Okay, now we have mouse look script. This is actually a rather interesting script that it changes the view based on moving around your mouse. So just don't bother about the first two. This is obviously telling it, okay, the script is under right here. Just use this script is what it's telling it. Now, here's an interesting thing. So right now, if I move my mouse 1 inch, it turned me nearly 180 degrees. And I don't really like that. So I'm going to set the sensitivity X to 5 or so. Also, if you change a setting, you'll see it goes into bold. That means it's different from the default. It helps out. But now it's a much better rotation scale. I can set it even lower to, say, 3. And it'll be a very nice rotation. Now, the y-axis still is very sensitive, so I'm just going to set sensitivity y to -5, I think. Yeah, there we go. So the lower you set it, the less sensitive it is. You may want to put in a setting in your game at some point. I'll talk to you guys about how to do that sort of thing. But that's always useful to do because it's annoying if you are too sensitive. Maximum X, maximum Y, just, or minimum X, maximum X, blah, blah, blah. Just basically how far you can rotate. So if I set this to 180 and run, then, okay. Some of the parameters don't change much, but that's how far you can rotate. Now we have character motor, and this is probably the one that you're going to be messing around with the most. Can control, if we remove that, I cannot move the player at all. I can just look around. That may be useful in some cases. Use fixed update, just ignore that for now. Movement, this is interesting. So if I set the max forward speed to something really crazy like 100, I'm just going to tap the W key, and it's going to knock me all the way off the platform. And I'm just going to fall infinitely. So I'm going to set that back to 6. Sideways speed, backward speed, basically. Generally, I like to have the backward speed a bit lower than the forward speed because you can't usually walk backwards as fast as you can walk forwards. At least I can't. Some of you may be able to. Yeah, so slope speed multiplier. Basically, you know, I've never messed around with this one. You can mess around with that, see what it does. If any of you figure that out, put it in the comments below, and I'll mention it in my next video. Okay, gravity. This one I really like. I can set it to 0 to completely remove gravity, and then I can just walk off the platform and not feel a thing. I'm still falling very slowly, however, because 0 is 0. Yeah, I don't know why I was still falling. But if I set it to -1, I go up. So you could have some kind of setting where you have, if you touch a block, then it changes the gravity and you fall up. If I set it to -20, then... Okay, apparently -20 is out of bounds. But, yeah, so that's gravity. And max fall speed, that should be pretty obvious. Now, jumping is enabled right now. So if I hit the spacebar, I can go way up. If I hit base height, and I set that to 10, I should jump up really, really high. And if I set it to, say, 1000, I just tap spacebar, and I think, you know, last time I set it for 1000, I went up and I was falling for like 5 minutes before I could close the game. We're still going up. Ooh. Okay. So that's always interesting. Moving platform enabled. That's basically if the platform under you is moving, do you move? And sliding is you'll notice I'm going to walk forward and let go, and I slide a little bit. Or if you're on a slippery platform, you'll slide more, blah, blah, blah. I think most of this should be pretty self-explanatory, not self-explanatory. Okay, FPS input controller, it's not terribly important for you to mess with at the moment. It's basically setting the input keys for these other scripts. Sorry about my voice today. I've been a bit sick lately, which is why I haven't gotten out a video. Okay, so that is first-person objects, first-person controller objects. In the next tutorial, I'm not quite sure what I'll cover. Probably, I said, I'm not sure what I'll cover. I might cover prefabs, I might cover, I don't know. So, don't hold me to that. I'm not sure what I'll cover. Okay, so thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials, and I'll see you next time. Bye.